The British Navy, they issued their own rum up until 1970, and it hasn't been reproduced since. Pussers Rum, it has a strong claim to authenticity, and we're going to use it today to make the official Painkiller Cocktail. So up until 1970, as mentioned, the British Navy, they issued a very unique blend of dark and robust rum. Issuing rum to the crew was a long-standing tradition to, well, as the sign says, prevent scurvy and boost morale. Navy captains, they would practically kidnap people and add them to their crew. They would be paid very little, but they would also be issued rum. In fact, so much rum that eventually it prevented them from even performing their duties because they were drinking so much rum, which inevitably led to stricter and smaller rum rations. To stretch out these smaller rum rations, the sailors concocted what could arguably be called the first cocktail. They would add water to the rum to dilute it and then add some sugar and lime juice for a bit of sweetness and flavor. And of course, the lime juice prevents scurvy. But before the rum was issued and later watered down by the sailors, the purser, the person issuing the rum, had to prove to the sailors that it wasn't already diluted and watered down. Full-strength Navy rum should be about 54.5% alcohol by volume, so the purser would take a bit of gunpowder, douse it with some of the gunpowder-proof rum, attempt to ignite it, and if it ignited, your rum was not diluted, and there's your gunpowder-proof rum, which of course made the sailors happy and boosted morale. So Navy rums, as mentioned, they're typically dark in color and they'll have strong notes of molasses, caramel, even some slight exotic spices, so I guess maybe you could consider it a spiced rum. And Navy rum was typically a blend of rums. There's no specific or exact recipe, it's more so like a method and guidelines, and you would usually use what was just affordable and readily available. But it's generally believed that Navy rums, the blend does contain about 60% Demerara Rum, 30% rum from Trinidad, and 10% rum from other places such as Barbados. You could just say that the British Navy liked to source rums from territories they already had, such as Guyana, Barbados, Trinidad, and other Caribbean islands. So after 1970, when the British Navy stopped producing their own rum, they eventually sold their secrets to an American entrepreneur, which eventually became Pussers Realm. The name, of course, inspired by Purser, the person who would issue the rum. Now about the Painkiller Cocktail. It's one of only 2 cocktail recipes that I know of that is trademarked, the other being the Dark and Stormy. It must use Pussers Rum to be an official painkiller, and it was originally a secret recipe that did use Pussers Rum with a combination of pineapple and coconut. Today, the official recipe for the painkiller we will use is 2 ounces of Pussers Rum, 4 ounces of pineapple juice, 1 ounce of orange juice, 1 ounce of cream of coconut, and grated nutmeg as a garnish. So without further ado, let's go ahead and make our painkiller, and I'm going to start with 1 ounce of this cream of coconut, because honestly I'm not sure if there's even an ounce in here, and I have a backup plan if there's not, so I want to get it out of the way. Alright, there's not an ounce in here, there's about half an ounce. So what I'm going to use is this Goya Pina Colada mix, which is pineapple juice and coconut already mixed in. And since we already got half an ounce of that coconut cream there, I imagine I could just top this off and then add 4 more ounces of it, and that should do just fine. So I changed my mind a little bit. We're just going to go ahead and do 1 ounce of this and then 3 ounces of the pineapple juice. So that got a little confusing. What it should be is 4 ounces of pineapple juice with 1 ounce of coconut cream, and what we ended up doing was half an ounce of coconut cream, 1 ounce of the pina colada mix, and then 3 ounces of just regular pineapple juice to try to balance it all out. Hopefully that'll work. And the next thing we'll do is 1 ounce of orange juice. And last but not least, 2 ounces of our Pussers Rum. This is just regular 42% ABV. You could probably also use the full gunpowder proof if you wanted to. I love the smell of this rum. garnish it with a bit of grated nutmeg for a aromatic and a bit of flavor. It should be freshly grated, but this is Bob's bottom shelf. Come on. Alright folks, the Pussers Painkiller. Cheers! So I've had a real one recently, well, without the pina colada mix, and honestly I can't tell the difference. Both versions are very delicious. It doesn't taste like a pina colada. This rum is definitely not something you would use in a pina colada. It's far more robust, rich, complex. The flavor of it is just so unique. I really enjoy this rum, and it goes so good with this cocktail here. It's not overly strong or boozy at all. It's very well balanced with the coconut and the pineapple and the orange juice. And the grated nutmeg on top does add a nice aromatic. I can only imagine the boost in morale those British sailors would have got back in the day if they had one of these. Well folks, that's gonna just about do it for today's episode of Bob's Bottom Shelf. Leave me a comment and let me know if you've ever tried Pussers Rum or the Painkiller Cocktail before. Subscribe if you like what we're doing here, and I'll see you in the next episode.